go, Mayor.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the October 5th meeting of the Council of the Wellington Shire. Before we proceed further, we are required to have a councillors' roll call to ensure that all councillors can see and hear both myself and each other. So could you please respond when I call your name? Firstly, Councillor Ripper.
Mayor, I can see you and I can hear you. And
Councillor Bye.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Crosley.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Tatterson.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I can see you and hear you.
Councillor Rossetti.
Well, given Councillor Tatterson's politeness, good afternoon, Mayor. I can see and hear you as well, my good man.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Councillor Wood.
Mayor, I can see and hear you.
And Councillor Mackenzie.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I can hear and see you.
Thank you very much. And I can hear and see all of you. Thank you. Now, the requirement is that we have council meeting information. So due to ongoing COVID-19 restrictions, the Minister's Good Practice Guidelines MGPG-1 virtual meetings issued by the Minister for Local Government continue to apply. Pursuant to Section 87 of the Local Government Act 2020, these guidelines ensure that local government decision-making can continue in line with COVID-19 restrictions, and further details can be found on the Local Government Victoria website. These guidelines took effect from the 1st of May 2020 and will remain in place through to 26th of April 2022. While members of the public cannot attend this meeting in person, we have provided options for you to interact with us virtually via our council meetings page on the Wellington Shire Council website. You are able to interact with council in two ways. Email a specific question or comment relating to a particular council agenda item no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the council meeting, or for general questions to council via the online web form early in this meeting to ensure that your questions can be dealt with at the end of this meeting. While we maintain a virtual way of gathering, we thank you for your ongoing support. Next is the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai people, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. Now the prayer. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Next, we have apologies. And this afternoon, we have an apology from Councillor Gail Marr. Next, we have declaration of conflicts of interest. I don't believe there are any conflicts of interest to be declared. No, that's fine. Thank you. Next is the confirmation of minutes of the previous council meeting. Someone to move the adoption of the minutes. Councillor Wood, thank you. You're on mute, Councillor Wood.
I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 21st of September 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there a seconder?
Happy to second, Mayor. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. You right, Councillor Wood?
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we move on to the business arising. There is no business arising that I'm aware of. Acceptance of late and urgent items. There are no late or urgent items that I'm aware of. There are no notices of motion listed on the agenda. In relation to petitions, there's no new or outstanding petitions at this time. Next item on the agenda is invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Councillor Crossley, I understand you have an acknowledgement. You're on mute, yes. Right? Yes.
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge that the Minister for Environment, Energy and Solar Homes, the Honourable Lily D'Ambrosio, attended a screened launch just like this on Saturday afternoon to celebrate the official launch of the Gippsland Community Power Hub, which received the first announcement of the success of the grant was in July this year, but now it's actually up and running, and we've had 8 small community projects have received funding to have their solar power and batteries put on throughout Gippsland. And it's also to congratulate the new members that we've got, because Gippsland is such a vast area, so that we have got community engagement officers in each of the areas, further to the east and the south and the central of what we call hublets, to engage with our communities. And it's a great opportunity that we can have our community members can come to the hub with their ideas. We've got engineering capabilities and project officers that can cast their eyes over their proposals to see how it best fits, and actually support them in finding and writing grants to actually see if they can get these projects up and running. So it's really a great opportunity to build on the community grants that local governments do, and also the grants that the state government has funded through the DELP and solar on public buildings, and really to make it open to other community members. And I know we've already got other community houses that have put their hands up to get involved, but it's really a way of getting communities aware of the advantages and looking at feasibility studies of a whole of community options, and especially in the end of line communities. Like certainly we were exposed to those things in the last storms that we had, where the end of the line communities were out of power for a number of, over a week in some circumstances. So it's really a great response for the state government to take that leadership role in supporting funds for our local communities. And it was really great. We had over 60 people attended the Zoom launch, and it was really great that the Minister was there to attend and wish well into the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Crossley. I'd just also like to make an acknowledgement of the fact that yesterday morning, together with the CEO, we had a virtual signing with the Victorian Small Business Commissioner of the Small Business Charter, which commits the council to basically, and I'm going to paraphrase the 4 points here, but the first one is that we basically notify small business if we're going to undertake any infrastructure works that will impact the business. 2, that we will provide support to assist small business getting established. The third one relates to the fact that we'll streamline all processes such as planning, building, local laws, etc. And the fourth, for an old small business person that likes cash flow, the fourth one is that we will pay our accounts within 14 days of receipt of invoice. So they're in principle the four small business components. So that was we invited the new Victorian Small Business Commission to come and visit us when travel is permitted. So yes, we are now signatures. I think we've joined 61 other councils to date in signing the Small Business Charter. So yes. It's very hard. I found it very difficult to get my pen through the screen. Perhaps I could get assistance from Councillor Ripper as the IT expert on that. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is questions on notice, which we don't have any at this stage. Next item is Delegates Report, and I understand, Councillor Mackenzie, you have a Delegates Report you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wish to submit the Delegates Report at the October 5 Council meeting in respect to the Star of the South and report the following. Members of the Star of the South Community Advisory Group received an email on September 22 informing us that the Australian CEO, Caspar Frost Forherg, is to return back home to take up another offshore wind farm project for the consortium that is managing the Star of the South project. An official statement from the Star of the South Chairman, Michael Hannibal, was covered in the email and was as follows. It is with sadness but gratitude that I announce the resignation of Star of the South CEO Caspar Forherg. Mr Forherg commenced as CEO in 2019, relocating his family to Australia to pursue the opportunity of developing the nation's first offshore wind farm. Since that time, Mr Forherg has led the organisation through a significant growth period, accelerating the project's development and setting a strong benchmark for offshore wind projects in Australia. I would like to congratulate Mr Forherg on his achievements during his tenure at Star of the South. He's contributed valuable offshore wind knowledge to the Australian industry, sharing lessons from his previous career experience across Europe and Asian markets. Mr Forherg has not taken the decision to leave Australia and the Star of the South lightly. I am pleased to confirm he will stay in the family and lead another offshore project in Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners and will be announced in due course. An extensive global and Australian search commences today for Star of the South's new CEO, offering the opportunity to lead Australia's most exciting energy project. Mr Forherg will continue in his role of CEO for Star of the South while the search of a new CEO is ongoing to allow for a smooth transition for the organisation and project. As a delegate, during my time in councillor, what Caspar has brought to the renewable space is a company that is engaged, transparent and community-based. He brought a style of management that centres around openness right through the organisation and can say 100%, and on behalf of all within council, it's been a pleasure to know and have worked with Caspar over the past 2 years and wish him and his family all the very best in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. Moving on to item 11, this is CEO's report. Item 11.1 is Audit and Risk Committee member appointment.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Please proceed.
I wish to move 1, Council appoint an independent member to Council's Audit and Risk Committee for a 1-year period commencing the 29th of October 2021 and expiring the 28th of October 2022 in accordance with the recommendation in the attached confidential Audit and Risk Committee member appointment of this Council meeting agenda and point 2 as read.
Yeah, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor By.
Thank you, Councillor By. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare it carried. Councillor Mackenzie. Oh, before I proceed, I should announce that the successful applicant for this appointment is Kaya Cashman, and Kaya's been with us and she will continue as an independent member. I'm very pleased to see that she has agreed to continue on the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. The Audit and Risk Committee membership is comprised of 2 councillors and 3 external independent persons with suitable knowledge and experience, all appointed by Council for periods varying to a maximum term of 3 years. The reason for the new appointment on the committee has come about due to the resignation of Frank Evans who has served as an external member on the committee for several years and provided valuable direction and informative knowledge to Council over that time. On behalf of Council and as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee, I, along with many others, would like to formally thank Frank for his service and devoted time to guiding Council on important matters of risk and audit, and wish him all the very best in his new ventures. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie, and I'd just like to support your comments there. Thank Frank for his service as an independent member, and like you, wish him all the best for his future endeavours. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 12.1, Assembly of Councillors.
Happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor By.
Please proceed, Councillor By.
I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 13th of September 2021 to the 26th of September 2021.
Is there a seconder for that?
Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, thanks, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor By?
Yeah, happy with that, Mayor.
Thanks very much. The next item on the agenda is 12.2, Audit and Risk Committee again, but this time it's the minutes of the last meeting. Someone to move? Councillor Mackenzie?
Yes. I'll move that. I wish to move that Council receive and note the minutes in brief of the Audit and Risk Committee, the 9th of September 2021, attachment 12.2.1, and the confidential attachment Audit and Risk Committee minutes of the 9th of September 2021, attachment 12.2.3, and point 2 is read.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare it carried. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. On September 9, members of the Audit and Risk Committee, both external and councillors, met via Skype to work through workshops and processes in the best interest of ensuring council governance is maintained to the highest level. Council takes the information provided by this committee extremely seriously, as can be shown by the attendance of the CEO, GM Corporate Services, Manager Corporate Finance, Manager Information Services, along with Council external auditors from Crow, along with our external support officer. In the absence of Mayor Stevens, Councillor By stepped into the breach and can say from first-hand observation that he was right in his wheelhouse. Thank you, Councillor By, for your contribution. Prior to the Audit and Risk Committee meetings, members received many items to discuss, debate and recommend to Council, and this was no different with over 32 action items and following small samples of items and following is a small sample of items that were discussed, such as internal audit reports, status of audit recommendations, status of identified improvements from various agencies, Gender Equality Act 2020, review of council policies, update on strategic risks and risk frameworks, Ombudsman's report, which was in regard to the investigation in how local councils respond to ratepayers in financial hardship, VACO report, responses to performance audit recommendations, the draft annual report that was provided by Crow, related party transactions, CEO credit card expenditure, report of reimbursements made to councillors and members of delegated committees, information service and cyber security updates, protective data security plan insight reports, fraud report, excessive staff leave, insurance reports. Certainly a lot of information in just 2 hours to go through. So no area of council is not reviewed from an audit and risk logic, and once again shows the leadership and transparency from the CEO right through the organisation that nothing is off the table. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. The next item on the agenda is item 12.3, is the reappointment of the Chief Executive Officer.
Councillor Wood.
Sorry, we lost. Can't hear you, can't hear you, Mr. CEO.
Councillor.
Can you hear me now, Mayor?
Yes.
I apologise about that. Given this item is about my reappointment, Mayor, it's not appropriate that I sit in on this, so I'm going to leave the meeting while this item is debated, and I've asked General Manager Corporate Services Arthur Skipper-Taris to join us, and I can see his face in the bottom left-hand side of my screen, so I'll leave the meeting now, Mayor, for this item.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. CEO, and thank you for stepping in, Mr. Corporate Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
There's a recommendation. I'd just like someone to. Is that you, Councillor Wood?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Please proceed.
Mayor, I move that Council reappoint David Morecambe as Council's Chief Executive Officer for a term of 5 years, from January the 30th, 2022 to the 29th of January 2027, pursuant to Section 94, subsection 4 of the Local Government Act 1989, and in accordance with the public notice published in the Gippsland Times and on Council's website on the 14th of September 2021. 2, Council authorise the Mayor to finalise a contract of employment with David Morecambe, inclusive of annual enterprise agreement increases by the 13th of October 2021. 3, in accordance with Section 94, subsection 6 of the Local Government Act 1989, details of David Morecambe's total remuneration as Chief Executive Officer under the new contract of employment be made available for public inspection within 14 days following approval of this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare the recommendations carried. Councillor Wood.
Mayor, David Morecambe, the current Chief Executive Officer's contract expires on the 29th of January 2022. In accordance with Sections 94 and 95A of the Local Government Act 1989, in brackets, a transitional provision under the new Local Government Act 2020, Council can pass a resolution to reappoint to the incumbent Chief Executive Officer without the requirement to externally advertise a position. The resolution must be passed in the 6 months immediately before the CEO's contract is due to expire. Should Council resolve not to reappoint as incumbent Chief Executive Officer, then the role must be advertised externally. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of you, Mayor, and all the other councillors. We look forward to working with David in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for those comments. Yes, Councillor Wood, and I support your sentiments there completely. Thank you. So we move on to item 13.1, but I think we will invite the...
I've asked Dave, the CEO, to come back, Mayor, and I will, when he does, I will leave. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Corporate Services Manager, and it looks like we've got the CEO. Oh, there's the CEO. He is back. Welcome back, Mr. CEO. And you're on mute again.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent. All right. And you'll be pleased to know, Mr. CEO, the recommendation was carried unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors. I'll go off and iron 5 shirts now, as they say.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Moving on to item 13.1 is the quarterly building report. Someone's
happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Vice, happy to move that.
Councillor Bye.
I move that Council note the report of building permits issued from the 1st of April 2021 to the 30th of June 2021.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor McKenzie, thank you. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor. It was a great quarter again for construction of buildings in the Wellington Shire. We issued 300 for a total of $55,587,267. It's a huge amount again, especially in this COVID time, and a real credit to our planning department to keep the Shire flowing. A few exciting things. Coongulla at another broiler farm. We've got a lot of broiler farms now, so we welcome employment, and the broiler farm's great. And it's also really good to see some new subdivisions. We have a new subdivision, or two subdivisions in Maffra that are nearly fully subscribed, and I believe machinery is on site. We have a subdivision that has machinery on site in Rosedale, and we have a subdivision in Yarram with 35 blocks. So, yes, Mayor, we do have. So it's really exciting, some of these little towns, to have these blocks that are coming on available to keep the land supply up on top of our normal towns. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Boyd. The next item on the agenda is 13.2, Strategic Land Use Planning, third quarterly report.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Boyd.
I move that Council receive the third quarterly update on the Strategic Land Use Planning Work Program, included in attachment planning project and amendments to this report.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Boyd.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll just point out a couple of things that are coming through and towards the end, which is really good. The North Sale Development Contribution. This has been going on for a number of years. It's an important part of sale growing and incorporates 294 hectares of land. What it is we go to our developers, we get them to do a contribution per block to go to infrastructure for the whole of that North Sale area. We are now at the stage where we are going to ask we can have that finalised very shortly. The other one that's quite good is that the Maffra structure plan. It's nearly at the end as well. We should have a draft out for public exhibition for that plan in November. So it'll be exciting to see what the public think of our draft and see what they come back with. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Boyd. Next item on the agenda is item 13.3, is the COVID-19 Business Support Package 2. There's a couple of recommendations there.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that Council allocate up to $360,000 to fund the following COVID-19 Business Support Package 2.0 and 0.2 as read.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. Do I have a seconder for that? Those recommendations? Councillor Wood, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. As a bit of history, in April 2021, Council approved at that time the Small Business Support Package number 1 of $350,000, which was well received and supported by our small business partners. And who would have thought that 18 months later, this pandemic still hasn't allowed businesses to get back on their feet and to remain a vital, consistent part of our community lives. In 2022, lockdowns have continued and in fact have become more frequent with little to no notice to close. And now Melbourne holds the world record for the most days in lockdown, and along with our neighbours Latrobe Valley going into two lockdowns within the last few weeks. Recently within our Shire, small business closed with a 2-hour notice period from the government, and wish to take this opportunity to thank the GM Development and his Economic Development team in listening to our small businesses within Wellington and coming back to Council and presenting this second support package, which was unanimously approved and tonight ratified as a go to assist small business to get back on their feet. Some of the key pillars, however not limited to, of the Small Business Support Package number 2 are Engagement of the Small Business Mentoring Service, which is helping small business with concepts and listening to their challenges. Financial assistance to small businesses to build online capability with a click and collect on their website. Waiving of 2022 Food Act and Public Health and Wellbeing registration fees. Waiving and/or refund of outdoor dining permit fees, roadside trading permit fees, livestock permits, portable advertising signage permit fees for a period of 12 months. That rental waivers are granted for council-owned or managed properties for 6 months on a proportionate basis where there has been at least a 30% downturn in revenue. Engagement or promotion of the Business Advisory Service. Implementation of a market campaign and competition Buy Local and Win to promote local spend, along with building on the Middle of Everywhere program that makes Wellington a point of difference. Ongoing promotion campaigns and engagement of ambassadors for Wellington Still Delivering. Extension of a COVID and concierge role until July to August 2022. And finally, supporting business and tourism associations to promote a Gippsland Etsy initiative to support small business who do not have an online presence, implement marketing campaigns to support business, tourism and accommodation providers. Once again, Mayor, I'd like to thank the GM Development and his team for this initiative, and really shows that as a community and as a tribe that we are really working together and we're all in this together. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor McKenzie. We'll move on to item 14.1 is the Unsealed Roads Reconstruction Works East and Urban. A mover of the recommendation.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that one, Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for contract 2022-014 Unsealed Road Reconstruction Eastern and Urban Maintenance Areas. Two, the information contained in the confidential attachment contract 2022-014 Unsealed Road Reconstruction Eastern and Urban Maintenance Areas and designated confidential under Section 3.1 Confidential Information Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager, Built and Natural Environment on 3rd September 2021, because it relates to the following being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. I'll take the rest as read.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Crossley, happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks, Councillor Crossley. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare the recommendations carried. Hang on. Yes, and before I pass back to you, Councillor Rossetti, for that contract Unsealed Roads Reconstruction, I'd just like to announce the successful tenderer is Bairnsdale Road Services Proprietary Limited. Over to you, Councillor Rossetti.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Just to say that this is obviously the core business of council. In fact, council, local government started from road maintenance and road building organisations, and this particular contract is for 1,560 kilometres of unsealed roads. We actually have three separate contracts for these assets. But the main thing here is that while this work will be undertaken and keep moving, I do remind those on unsealed road in particular that it's really good for them to have input into the road maintenance plan, because that plan, which is reviewed periodically every few years, it guides us in what we do to which roads, because we have over 3,000 kilometres of roads that we do maintain in our roads management plan, but there's 1 or 2 or 3,000 kilometres more, we don't know really, of other roads that aren't on that list, because they only supply, for various reasons, including only being used by one property, for instance. But that's a chance for people to actually have some input into it. So that if you like what we're doing, that's great. If you don't like what's happening on your road, keep an eye out when that comes back around. I think it's probably another 3 years away now, though.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much, Councillor Rossetti. So the next item on the agenda is item 14.2, and that's Unsealed Roads Reconstruction Works Southern Area.
Yes,
thank you. Please proceed, Councillor Crosley.
I move that 1, Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for contract 2022-016 Unsealed Road Reconstruction Southern Maintenance Area, and 2, the information contained in the confidential attached contract 2022-016 Unsealed Road Reconstruction South Maintenance Area and designated confidential under Section 3, 1, Confidential Information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager, Built and Natural Environment on the 3rd of September 2021 because it relates to the following grounds. G, private commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that if revealed would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage, and designated confidential information under Section 3.1, Confidential Information of the Local Government Act 2020, except that once this recommendation has been adopted, the name of the successful tenderer can be made public.
Thank you, Councillor Crosley. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you, Thanks, Councillor Tutterson. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried. And in relation to item 14.2, I can announce that the successful tenderer is the Bairnsdale Road Services Proprietary Limited. Over to you, Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, and congratulations to the tenderer. Yes, this is a carry on from the previous item that was outlined by Councillor Rossetti, and this certainly is for the southern area, which is including the Calladale Road, Jack River and Eccleston's Road and Gifford West. And as I say, there's vast areas of gravel road that needs attention, and the criteria for choosing these roads is based on the pavement condition and traffic counts and conditions and usage, and overall to maintain the overall network. So well done to the contractor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. The next item on the agenda is item 14.3, the Coongulla Central Scheme, Special Charge Scheme, intention to declare.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Please proceed.
Thank you. I move that 1, Council commence the statutory process under the Local Government Act 1989, the Act, to declare a special charge scheme, proposed scheme, for the purposes of constructing certain streets within the central area of the Coongulla Township, being those streets listed and shown on the plan which is attached and forms part of the proposed declaration of Special Charge Scheme number 2102, and the provision of ancillary works including driveway crossing and culverts from road edge to building line, and 2, Council, in accordance with sections 163 1A and 163B(3) of the Act, direct that a public notice be given in the Gippsland Times newspaper and on Council's website of the intention of Council to declare the scheme at its ordinary meeting to be held on 1 March 2022, in accordance with the proposed declaration of Special Charge Scheme number 2102, and 3, Council direct, in accordance with section 163 1C of the Act, separate letters enclosing a copy of the public notice to be sent to the owners of properties referred to and set out in the schedule of properties forming a part of the proposed declaration of special charge, advising of the intention of Council to declare the special charge at its ordinary meeting to be held on 1 March 2022. The basis of the calculation and distribution of the special charge and notifying such persons that submissions and/or objections writing in relation to the proposed declaration of special charge will be considered and or taken into account by Council in accordance with sections 163A, 163B and 223 of the Act. And 4, Council appoint Councillor Ripper, Bye and Tatterson and an alternative Councillor Crosley represented to form the Coongulla Central Area Special Charge Scheme Submissions Committee that is established by Council under section 2231(b)(I) of the Act, to consider written submissions, objections and to hear any persons who in their written submissions under section 223 of the Act have requested that they are heard in support of their submissions, and 5, the Chief Executive Officer or the person for the time being acting in that position be authorised to give public notice of the proposed declaration of special charge in accordance with section 163B 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, and 6, the Chief Executive Officer, the General Manager Build and Environment of the Manager Build Environment or any other person for the time being acting in any of those positions, each be authorised to carry out any and all other administrative procedures necessary to enable Council to carry out its functions under section 163A and sections 163, 1A, 1B and 1C and sections 163B and 223 of the Act.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder for those
Happy to second that,
recommendations?
Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'm happy to declare them carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. The results of the surveys in relation to the proposed scheme were there was properties of 44, supported scheme 29, 66%. Opposed the scheme was 12, 27%. We had 3 did not reply, which was 6%. Property owners 39, 26 supported the scheme, which gave us 67%. Opposed the scheme was 10, which gave us 26%. Did not reply, same, 3, which is 66, say again, 6%. There are 5 property owners who own multiple properties. The survey results exclude any council-owned reserves and there are no other exempt properties. Based on the survey results, the level of support for the central area exceeds the 60% threshold acceptance level outlined in the Residential Road and Construction Plan 2019, and therefore is considered that there is sufficient level of support for the proposed special charge scheme for the central area within the Coongulla Township. And those, the streets and the roads to be constructed is McAllister Drive, Wellington Street, Tambaretha Terrace, Gillam Drive and Woolanook Way. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. The next item on the agenda is item 14.4, the Bituminous Resealing of Local Roads. Someone like to move that? Oh, please proceed, Councillor Tatterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move 1, that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for contract 2022-035 bituminous resealing of local roads, and the information contained in the confidential attachment contract 2022-035 bituminous resealing of local roads and designated confidential under Section 3(1) confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager of Built and Natural Environment on the 3rd of September 2020, because it relates to the following grounds as written, and read the rest as written.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Do I have a seconder, please, for those recommendations? Councillor Rupert, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried, and I'd just like to announce that the successful tenderer for this contract is Fulton Hogan Industries Proprietary Limited. So congratulations to the company. Councillor Tatterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council maintains approximately 1,510 kilometres of sealed roads. We're consistently receiving really high satisfaction ratings from our ratepayers for our sealed roads. While they're not perfect, they certainly benchmark against other shires. We receive really good report. And a key part of this is our road resealing program, which ensures that we maintain good surfaces on our sealed roads and that we retain the pavements underneath those seals. So by maintaining strong investment in the resealing program, it ensures that our roads are there now and into the future. So congratulations to the staff and to the contractor who will go about his work resealing the roads. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor. The next item on the agenda is item 14.5, is the Lake Guthridge/Guyatt Environment Education Centre. Councillor Crosley, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that 1, Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda of contract 2022-022 Lake Guthridge-Guyatt Environment Education Centre, and 2, the information contained in the confidential attached contract 2022-022 Lake Guthridge-Guyatt Environmental Education Centre and designated confidential under Section 3(1) confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 because it relates to the following grounds. Misword, by the General Manager Built a Natural Environment on the 3rd of September 2021, and may I take the rest as read.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. That was well done. There was a bit of a tongue twister in the middle of that recommendation, I think. Is there a seconder for that recommendation, please?
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bai. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'm happy to declare them carried. I'd like to announce that the successful tenderer for this Environment Education Centre is RAL Construction Proprietary Limited. Congratulations to the company. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a really exciting project, and it's been on the planning or the dream list, bucket list for a while. This will really enhance the precinct there and link together the spectacular and well-used botanic gardens, the really exciting Sale Community Garden, the seed there. I don't know whether people have had a look at it. It's just flourishing at the moment with all its spring growth, and you get some great tomato seedlings there at the moment. And also it'll link into the Lake Guyatt Cultural Trail, and then further on into the environmental play space, and also link through to the Hart Morass. So it's a perfect positioning to have an environmental and education space there. It's going to be a multi-use space and available for all age groups to utilise it. And also it's a really important partnership with the Gunai Land and Water Corporation in furthering our relationship with the First Nations, part of the education, and also really link into that natural environment. And, you know, I'm not sure if people are aware, there's a fantastic, such a close place to have a wonderful wildlife there. There's a rookery basically there of the roosting site of the royal spoonbills, some egrets. There's in the season we get a variety of ducks. The endangered freckled duck has a refuge there during the duck season, so it's very important there. And also, as I say, great access to the morass. So it's really an important asset, and I think it'll be a destination, not only just for people wanting to have school kids there and education, but really a destination to understand our natural and cultural history in Wellington. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Crosley, for that. Next item on the agenda, 14.6, is the land purchase for the new transfer station facility in Maffra.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Ripper.
1. I move Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to acquire 3.829 hectares of vacant land as shown on draft plan DS 846507V, situated off Fulton Road, Maffra, noting it is required for the future development of the Maffra Resource Recovery Facility. 2. The acquisition be completed in accordance with the process outlined within the confidential attachment. 3. Budget be sourced from available funds within the Waste Infrastructure Reserve Fund in the 2021-22 financial year. 4. The information contained in the confidential attachment, outline of acquisition process, valuation report, Fulton Road, Maffra, and designated confidential under section 3.1, confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager, Build and Natural Environment on the 3rd of September 2021, because it relates to the following grounds. A, council business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released, by designated confidential information under section 3.1, confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder for that? Those recommendations, please. Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? And if not, I'm happy to declare them carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thanks, Mayor. The current Maffra landfill site located on Sellings Road, Maffra, is the key waste recovery for landfilling site servicing Maffra Township and communities in the northern region of the Wellington Shire. The Shire receives an average of 845 payloads per month and is of landfill. And the current site was established in 1973 for landfilling operations, which does not meet current Environment Protection Authority landfill standards. The site imposes a proportionally higher cost to the community it serves relative to larger landfills. And funds required for the purchase of the land at market value are available from the Waste Infrastructure Reserve Fund. Additional costs required to complete an acquisition are outlined within attachment, include survey, legal and fencing and new title boundary. Existing reserve fund will be used for all costs associated with the acquisition. Now, as everyone knows, that our landfills are one of the very, very important services that council provide. Each year we get more landfill with more people here, but more packaging, more bits and pieces. We seem to, anything that we buy, we have to open it up. It's never go in and buy anything that used to years ago, nuts and bolts and biscuits in a paper bag, or it all seems to be packaged. So that has to go somewhere. And the legislative impact of this, we have the governing the recovery resource facilities. We've got a planning scheme, the Environment Protection Authority. So anyone that wants to follow this, I would encourage you to go online or to go to your library, or if you can't do either of those, contact the Shire at the front desk and they can send you a copy to have a read through this. This is a very, very important acquisition, and I know that we have to do it right. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much for your comments, Councillor Ripper. We'll move on to the next item. Item 15 is the adoption of the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan. There's a recommendation there. Councillor Crosley, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the Wellington Shire Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, Healthy Wellington 2021 to 2025 as attached.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Wood, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the plan? No, I'm happy to declare that carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you. This is a legislative requirement, but a very important document, and it's been really well engaged with the community. The plan is to be aligned with the council plan, and it is focusing on four main areas, which is mental wellbeing, health and climate change, equality and active living. Just to congratulate both the community and the officers in managing during the period of March to the end of May 2021, through all of the on-again, off-again restrictions, managed 16 pop-up sessions across the Shire, including the smaller communities, Glendale, Maffra, Boysdale, Hayford, Brigalong, Stratford, Port Albert, Golden Beach, Yarram, Sale, Loxford and Rosedale. So most people would have been able to access those, and also directly engaging with the community, with the health and education stakeholders. And also people have got used to making accessing these sort of things online. And there was over 1,000 people visited the engagement page on this important strategy, and with more than 500 people actually reading the document and including other plans. So and 180 people completed the online survey. So it's obviously near and dear to people's heart and very important document. It's also interesting to note that this is actually a document that we are having to, well, by its very presence, we need to have its people-centred approach and work with our other agencies and the community to actually achieve our goals. So the goals and the approach to be considered were the following: were access, ongoing participation, affordability, availability and inclusion. So all of those 5 factors were attached to our previous 4 aims. But it's really fantastic that the community was so heavily engaged in this documentation. Not all of our strategies are so dear to people's hearts, but it's really good at this time that people were taking that into consideration to look at making Wellington a better place. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much for your comments, Councillor Crosley. The next item on the agenda is item 16, further gallery and online comments. Mr. CEO, do we have any comments or questions?
Nothing there today, Mayor.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Mr. CEO. The last item is closed session, and my advice is that there's nothing that we need to go into closed session about. Therefore, it only remains for me to thank you all for your attendance at today's meeting, and I will be happy to declare the meeting closed. And it looks like it's right on 4 o'clock according to my time. So, and I think now.